Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you another Star Trek review, and today it is 1986's Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. This was once again directed by Leonard Nimoy, and it stars all the original actors you would expect from the original Enterprise crew. Now, for those of you who don't know, this film it follows directly on from Star Trek 3 essentially, and the crew of the Enterprise are marooned on Vulcan with the Klingon bird of prey they were left with at the end of the third film. There's a bit of a political storm on Earth in regards to everything they did in Star Trek 3, stealing the Enterprise and then the killing of the Klingons, and the Klingon government want serious repercussions for Kirk especially. And they're waiting to basically be court-martialed once they get back home. However, on their way back, they discover that there has been this strange probe that has approached Earth and is trying to communicate with the oceans, which is having a devastating effect on the planet. Through looking into this transmission, Kirk, Spock figure out that this probe is trying to communicate with an extinct species, namely some humpback whales, and these whales have been extinct for many hundreds of years on Earth, so there is no response that can be given to this probe. So Kirk and the rest of the crew decide to time travel back to Earth in the 1980s in the hope that they can find some humpback whales, take them back to their time in the hope that these humpback whales will communicate with this probe, and then therefore save the planet Earth. So that's essentially the story here. Like I say, it's a direct continuation from Star Trek 3, and I personally look at Star Trek 2, 3 and 4 as a trilogy of films. They're meant to be really a trilogy of films. They work beautifully together. And it's essentially, a continuation of each story. I think, from my perspective, I think this film is easily one of the best Star Trek films that's been made. They decided to lighten the mood with this film, which was a real step in the right direction, I think. And as they say themselves, if you watch the extras and things, the people behind Star Trek 4, they'd been through life and death and revenge and all this, Shakespearean stuff in the last couple of films, that they felt they needed to lighten it a bit, the mood, and they certainly did that in this film. This film is not only successful as a Star Trek film, the chemistry with the crew, everything is really fantastically well done, but it's a success in regards to its approach to telling the story here. It's a really fun story, and it's genuinely funny, this film. It's easy. I think it's easily the funniest Star Trek film out there. But it doesn't harm the film. It doesn't feel like a comedy or anything like that. It's just really natural, light humour that they put in the film. And I have said before, when reviewing these Star Trek films, that the Star Trek films, especially these ones, have a real special place in my heart, because I watched them with my dad, who passed away in 1991, and he was a real Star Trek fan. So I watched all these Star Trek films with my dad. I went to the cinema to see them. We used to watch them on home video and things like that. And even though he never said, I'm fairly sure this was his favourite Star Trek film. I can still remember his booming laugh at certain scenes in this film. The scenes where Spock, Vulcan nerve pinches the punk on the bus with the loud music. Brilliant. The scene where Chekhov is walking around the streets asking people where the nuclear vessels are in his strong Russian accent. I can still remember my dad's laugh very clearly. Now, when I was young, I didn't really understand that joke. I didn't get the connection between him being Russian and asking where the nuclear vessels were. I do completely get it now, obviously, but I didn't at the time. But I still enjoyed it because I could see how much my dad was enjoying it. The scene as well, where or the sequence where Chekhov, when he bangs his head and he's in hospital, and Kirk and McCoy have to go and rescue him, and the whole thing with McCoy in that hospital is how horrified he is at the state of medical science at that stage. it's just so funny. And that scene where that old lady says to him that she's got dialysis, and he's going, Jesus Christ, what we're living in the dark ages. And he gives her a pill and says, take one of these and contact me in the morning. And 5 minutes later, she's skipping about. Again, I can just remember my dad's laugh. It was really, really funny. There's some really funny moments in this film. And I think what makes this film work as well is the fact that all the crew feel like they've got a purpose in this film. You know, they've all got a part to play. You know, where they're all split up and they've got to go out and do the certain tasks. It's just really well done and put together brilliantly, and I think it's personally one of the best Star Trek films out there. And it also carries a very strong message as well. It's not just light-hearted fun. It's got a very strong message saying, you know, look after, you know, the wildlife, especially in the oceans and things like that. So it's a strong message, but they don't do it in your face type stuff. It's just fun film to watch. You could see as well how much the cast are enjoying this. There's a scene that always sticks out in my head in this film, and it's right at the end when they get back to Earth and they crash the Klingon bird of prey into, you know, in the water, and they're all like stood on it, jumping in the water, and that you can see, you just look at the faces, it's not acting, they're actually having loads of fun. And that scene where William Shatner grabs Leonard Nimoy and throws him in the water, and that scream from Leonard Nimoy when he comes up from the water, that's not acting. They just put the camera on the cast having a good time and some fun, and you can see how much fun they were having at that point. So for me, Star Trek 4 is arguably one of the best Star Trek films I think that's ever been made. It's a 9 out of 10 from me. It's an almost flawless experience. It was a huge box office success. It's just a shame that unfortunately it led to what I consider to be the worst Star Trek film, and that is the next one, which is Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier, which I will be reviewing next, obviously. So thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you're enjoying these Star Trek reviews. It's my hope that by watching these and other classic film reviews, it will inspire you to revisit them. I'm certainly really enjoying revisiting and rewatching these Star Trek films. So I hope you consider doing the same. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will of course be back with more content and reviews on Screen Stars very soon.